My name is Eileen Riley, and I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Putnam County. Our league is pleased and honored to have been asked to facilitate the Putnam Valley School District's Meet the Candidates event this evening. Our league will be moderating tonight's forum as well as providing the timekeeping. The League of Women Voters is a unique, multi-issue, nonpartisan political organization open to men and women. Mark. We encourage informed, Dave, active participation in government and influence public policy through advocacy and education. The League neither supports nor opposes any political party or candidate for elective office. I would like to introduce tonight's moderator, Mr. Mark Bukowski. Mark is a resident of Mayapack and a 25-year veteran school music teacher, public school music teacher in the Yonkers school system. A firm believer in community and public service, Mr. Bukowski has served on numerous advisory council, most notably as an advocate for public education and arts in education. He has been a Board of Education trustee for the Mayapack Public Schools and has been a member of the League of Women Voters of Putnam County for 12 years. I now turn tonight's forum over to Mr. Mark Bukowski.
Thank you very much, Ms. Riley. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Bukowski, and as Eileen Riley mentioned, I am a member of the League of Women Voters. It is not for women only. How nice it is to see you all here in person. It's been too long since we've been able to gather together like this in person to address our local concerns, and it is a pleasure to be with you here tonight. Tonight's event is being recorded for presentation on YouTube and will be available, or linked at least, through the Putnam County School District's website, www.pvcsd.org. And it should be available within 48 hours on that website. I'd like to thank the candidates that are participating this evening in the Putnam Valley Central School District Board of Education Meet the Candidates Forum. I am not, for your information, a voting member of this community. I have already done so. I will once again apologize in advance for mispronouncing anyone's name or for any other errors, which will be inevitable. Tonight's forum will end no later than 9 p.m. Questions for our candidates were written on index cards here in our in-person forum and submitted. The questions were then vetted by a member of the League of Women Voters, and you are all advised that questions posed to the candidates will address the position that the candidates are seeking. No questions of a personal nature will be permitted. Once again, I will remind all attendees tonight, please take a moment to make sure that your cell phones are turned off at this time. I will now introduce the 4 candidates for this year's Putnam Valley Board of Election Trustee. There are 2 available seats, and all seats are for 3-year terms beginning July 1st, 2022. And the candidates in order are Mr. Sam Oliverio Jr., Ms. Jeanette Yetter, Ms. Caroline Reynolds, and Ms. Miranda E. Zaki. The ground rules for this evening's event are as follows. For all statements by the candidates, our timekeeper will notify the speaker when 30 seconds remain by holding up a yellow sign, and again when the time is up by holding up a red sign. Our timekeeper this evening is Ms. Phyllis Honig, a vice president of the League of Women Voters of Putnam County. The order of candidates was chosen through a lottery, and we will end tonight's forum by giving statements in the reverse order. All right. Excuse me for one moment. Okay. Thank you. I will announce him later. I will get to that later, okay? Thank you, though. Now, where was I? All right, we'll now begin. We are going to start with opening statements from each of the candidates. Each candidate will give a 2-minute opening statement. Following their introductions, I will read the submitted statements by our audience. I will read the questions submitted by our audience here tonight. Our first speaker of the evening will be...
Mark, can we do the pledge? That's usually how we open each meeting.
It would be my honor. Will you all please rise for the
Thank
Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Once again, the order of speakers was chosen by lottery. Our first speaker this evening will be Mr. Sam Oliverio, Jr. Mr. Oliverio?
Thank you. Dan, do I have to talk into this microphone or can I stand up? I feel much better standing up.
You have to talk into some people at home.
Would that work?
I guess so.
Okay, good. Good evening. First off, I want to thank the PTA, the PVFT, and the League of Women Voters. Oh, we're getting feedback from that, so let me lower that down. I'm sorry. Looks like standing isn't going to do it. For organizing this Meet the Candidates. I think it's a great opportunity for the residents to hear how each of us view the role of school board trustee. I've been a lifelong member here in Putnam Valley, grew up here, went to Putnam Valley schools. I don't have any kids, but in my work as a teacher, guidance counselor, assistant principal, both at the middle school and high school, I've had over 3,000 children that I consider part of my own. I believe in public service. That's why I'm running for this position. I've served many years in governmental work, and this, I feel, is an appropriate time and a good time to enter into the school board's machinations and workings. I've always felt that I was a trusted member of the community. I'm looking in the audience. I know just about everybody here. I've either had you as a student or as a parent or just knew you from the political and governmental circumstances that I was involved in. And I feel that trust and that integrity is integral to a well-functioning school board. And that is what I will offer here for the residents of Putnam Valley, and that is why I'm running, and to continue a great legacy for our children, which are the most important treasured aspect of any community and our society. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Yellen.
Thank you. So thank you to the Putnam Valley PTA, the League of Women Voters, PVFT, and all those that participated in organizing this event, as well as all of you for attending it. It's much appreciated. My name is Jeanette Yetter, and my family has lived in Putnam Valley for over 28 years. We chose to raise our children here because we believe in the community. We knew the teachers and staff would help us raise our children to make a difference. I believe that once our children graduate, we don't stop giving. Instead, we choose to give back. I want great things to continue for the students, teachers, and staff of Putnam Valley. We're in changing times, and with change comes opportunity to identify what needs improvement and make it better, as well as what's been great and make it greater. I want the people of Putnam Valley to see the value in our schools and invest with great passion. With my experience and understanding of our schools, I want to be a voice for parents as well as the hundreds of people who are, although no longer have children in our district, see the value in investing in our community. In my current position, I have led teams of employees as we instill quality initiatives for a major healthcare company. Through this charge, I needed to openly communicate, encourage, listen, collaborate, and build cohesiveness. Through my profession, I am responsible for managing budgets, assuring sound financial practices, and the highest integrity and honesty in determining best practices in spending. I have led reviews of personnel, guiding and initiating change as needed, as well as acknowledging great effort and commitment. In addition, throughout my children's education, I was actively involved in many roles within the schools and community, the PTA, sports, booster clubs, Boy Scouts activities, and a long-term member of Putnam Community Cares. If re-elected, I would like to be involved with enhancing the communication with involvement between the school district and our community, especially for those like me that do not have children within the schools. I think it's the role of each board member to work between the district and community to ensure financial responsibility while ensuring the best education possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Reynolds?
Hi, yes, thank you. Thank you, PTA, for hosting this evening. It's so wonderful to have a great turnout. Thank you for the League of Women Voters for moderating. Just a quick introduction for who I am. My name is Caroline Reynolds. My husband and myself moved here about 10 years ago, came here from Long Island and Manhattan, and we chose Putnam Valley for the small community that it is. We chose this for the great school district that it has, and we are so proud and to be a part of this community. When my child was younger, I didn't have big ties to the community because I was commuting to the city every day, and it was a very long day, and my child was in daycare, and when she started kindergarten, we as a family made the decision for me to stay at home with her. That to me was the most beneficial way for me. I didn't want to just learn the teachers, I wanted to learn every aspect of her well-being. I wanted to meet the bus drivers, and I've met an amazing group of mothers and parents that have been such a support for us, and that's, to me, is what this community is about. And I am privileged to be here. And now that she's a little bit older, she's in the 3rd grade, we'll be starting 4th, she has a little bit more independence. I don't need to micromanage her homework, and I am now in a position where I have a calling to serve a purpose and be a voice for these kids. We have a really great community here, and I'm so proud of every child that I've come across. I've had nothing but a wonderful experience in this district. I don't have experience in schools. I am not a politician. I am just a mom. I'm a community member and a mother who wants to be a voice for our children. And I want to be a voice for all the residents, even if you don't have children. We all pay taxes. So with that, I am very pleased to have a calling for this, and I welcome the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Zaki?
Good evening. Thank you to our community, Parent-Teacher Association, and the League of Women's Voters for taking time to participate in this vital process, especially at this time when our school district faces many challenges. I have been a resident in Putnam Valley since 2012. I have 2 children, one in 7th grade and one in the upcoming kindergarten class, plus many others from another mother. I have a strong passion for the development and well-being of every child within our community. We have a fiscal responsibility that is owed to every taxpayer within our community. I am a stickler on wasted money and lenient on money that utmost enhances our children's educational purposes. I believe in real science, math, social studies, English, reading, and writing, the core foundation of every child's education. Communication and morals hold true value in my heart. Ethics are a part of these morals I value. Leave no gaps. Transparency leads to understanding why of all situations, including but not limited to less micromanaging our teachers. Communication over and above the wants of the Board of Ed. Similarities of our children should be embraced with love, differences automatically accepted. I believe every human being has a respectful voice that we need to listen to. The message is this: the gap must be filled. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now begin, thank you all to the candidates, we will now begin our question and answer period. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer the question. Again, the timekeeper will notify, timekeepers, plural. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes each to answer the question. Again, the timekeepers will notify the candidates when 30 seconds remain and when time has expired. All questions directed to the candidates will be answered in a rotating manner. So each person will have a chance to answer first and last as we go through. So For our first question this evening, Ms. Yetter, you will be responding first. And of course, one of the most important issues facing any school board candidate is the school budget. And we had a number of questions about the budget that can be combined. Why don't we phrase it this way? Do you support the budget proposed this year? And please explain why or why not. And if you see that the budget needs to be reduced in any way, would you please be specific in how you would cut the budget?
I do support the school budget this year. It is a 1.49% increase over this previous year. And I think this district, the administrative office, Jill Figueroa, has done a great job, and the administrators of the school really looking at their expenditures and keeping it down what they can. We do have some unexpected expenditures, for example, an 8% increase in healthcare, transportation increase, as we all know the inflation we've reached. So that's been a challenge to keep things at a low budget and still have those expenditures coming in. Also, we received some 2.3 million, I believe, stimulus funds that we are not allowed to pay down the budget for that, but we are allowed to use it for extra services that we need. And so that is assisting our budget where that's not a burden to the taxpayers. It's since that grant, and what we're doing with that is 2 teachers in the elementary school to reduce class sizes, some capital budget funding, some programs for the middle school to increase the programs that they have there. So various throughout the schools, various programs they have. And I do believe it is a sound budget. I do think that they did a lot of strong, hard looking into the numbers for our taxpayers. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Reynolds?
Yes, I do support the budget. Ms. Yetter gave a lot of good reasons of what it encompasses, and it's easy in Putnam Valley for all of us to say our taxes are high. I agree with that, but it's not as simple as that. We are in line paying per child with every other district in the county, and we're in line, if not just below what it is in the state. There's a lot involved in this. Just in the last month of figuring out how this works as a board, it's amazing. We went to budget meetings, and what they go through to put this together is impressive. There is tax levies, there are equalization rates, there are race proportions, which we don't have in this town, which is basically how it determines how the burden is distributed between residents and commercial properties. So overall, I believe they put the most fiscally responsible budget together, and I think it benefits our children in all aspects of it, and they put every consideration into making this the best they can for our tax base. So yes, I do support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Zaki?
So I'm going to be quite honest. I am not a budget person. I did not understand over the last couple of months much about the budget. I have gone to budget meetings. Do I support the budget? In today's world with inflation, I have some concerns with a 1.4% tax increase. Those concerns are because I'm worried about the people who may not be able to afford that 1.4% tax increase. And to be honest with you, every single human being in this community matters. Not the people that can afford it, not just the people that can afford it, but the ones that can't. So I do have a lot of concerns as far as a budget that is going to increase our taxes in today's world.
Thank you. Mr. Oliveri?
Yeah, with inflation raging at 9%, man, I hope each and every one of you go out there to show your approval for this budget. 1.49. When gas, you know what it costs to fill up your car. You know what it costs to heat your home. Your electric bills are shooting up. The school faces those same dilemmas. And yet, through very wise and frugal monetary consolidation and concentration, they have created a budget at 1.49%. We haven't seen inflation like that in 3 years. I totally support this budget, and I hope each and every one of you, when you go to vote, vote yes on this budget. It's that important. Show your approval for good governance, because the board did that. Now, that doesn't mean that that budget is pristine and 100% pure. There are 2 positions being funded by COVID money, which runs out in 2 years. Are they going to continue funding that without the COVID money? That's a concern. And that's something I brought up at a board meeting. And hopefully the board, maybe we'll have some retirements before then. But that's a concern. Otherwise, this is a great budget. 1.49, outstanding.
All right, thank you. Obviously, one of the most pressing issues that we have facing our schools and our communities at this time is public health. We have had quite a last few years with the COVID pandemic. So the next question is about that. In other nations, students remained in school. Those 12 and under were also unmasked. How do you think we did as a school community with keeping kids in school, with masking of kids? And at the same time, should COVID numbers go up again, what is your stance about masking? What would your stance be about future preventative measures? And we will start this round of questioning with Ms. Reynolds.
Thank you. I think the school did a wonderful job. When the majority of other school districts were closed last year, we were open. I know there was a lot of controversy with keeping them masked and unmasked, and there was a lot of back and forth with that, but ultimately that was a state's choice, and this district did everything they could to keep this school district open. They also gave parents the option to keep their children remote, and the technology that these children have with having laptops, and I can tell you I have some friends that are teachers down on Long Island, and it was tough for them. They didn't have the technology we have. Children didn't have the internet, they didn't have laptops, they were not on uniform tablets, so it was very difficult for them. In Putnam Valley, for the most part, they didn't skip a beat. It was impressive to see what they did. Our children were able to attend school, whether it was home or in person. The parents had a choice for that, and I think that was wonderful. And if in the future, I hope this never happens again, but if it does come to it, I think we need to see how serious it is and make a decision as a community. And it's not for me to say at this point what would be done, because there's too many variables.
Thank you. Ms. Zaki?
So as far as COVID goes, from the very, very beginning, we were all put in a situation that none of us knew what was happening, what was going to happen. I will tell you that I think our registered nurses in the school district did an amazing job, and I think they should be accredited to the majority of the COVID situation that happened in our schools, along with the teachers. I sat at home and listened to my daughter's remote teaching, and it was just amazing and mind-boggling in my brain that teachers could actually go online and really get the attention of these children. As far as masks go, I am an emergency room trauma nurse, and there was definitely a need for masks, and masks do work. The research shows that the masks work, so there was a time that we needed those masks. If the pandemic should get, way out of hand again, yes, maybe we'll need to go in masks again, and I will support that if the science supports it at the time.
Mr. Oliverio?
Yeah, I think the district did a great job overall. I was part of the committee that talked about what the district should be doing. It was made up of parents, educators, and administrators. And when the pandemic hit, it took everybody by surprise. The district really powered forward on that. What's unfortunate is that the district is not an entity unto itself. It has to answer to the Department of Education in Albany. And it's those individuals and the New York State Department of Health that decides whether we're going to wear masks, whether we're going to have school, whether we're going to go remote. It's not only a solitary Putnam Valley decision. And that's always tough. I know that Superintendent Luft had a real tough time dealing with the individuals up in Albany, because they were so stark and hard on their decisions. There was no leeway. But the district handled it very, very well, very proud of them. And if the state mandates masks and, no school again, we're going to have to follow it. It's either that or they'll close you down. So it's a tough world we live in, but we'll deal with it.
Thank you. And Mr. Yetter?
As a sitting board member, I am also very proud of what our school did during the pandemic. When I ran 3 years ago, none of us knew that this was going to happen and that we'd be shutting schools down in a few months later. But I was participated as a board member on the committee to reopen the schools, and we pushed as hard as we could to have kids in here as long as possible. And we succeeded in that. For those of you that are not aware, our elementary school was here full-time. There wasn't half days, we're here full-time, and as Carolyn said, they did have the option of going remote if needed, or if they had any cause of positive, they were able to go remote. And our middle and high schools were here half-time, home half-time learning, and then proceeding from there. So I'm very proud of our school district. I think in the last 3 years, if we had no other school district around had as much education in person as we did. So with that, with mask mandates, I think, as Mr. Oliverio said, at the time, we were mandated by the state to have the mask mandates. As soon as it was cleared, they were off. I believe that they should be optional. I do think that right now, in fact, over the next few months, as the numbers are kind of increasing, I hope that they do remain optional at that point and not mandated. And as my other colleagues here stated, that if the numbers go up, if there's a scientific reason for it, and it's mandated at that point, then yes, the mask should be worn.
Thank you. I'm trying to think of the best way to approach this next question. One of the more controversial issues that school boards have had to face in the last couple of years has been curriculum and library books and what should be available to students, and at the same time ensuring that a diverse population has access to curriculum and literature that represents them. So could you speak for a moment about your position on ensuring literature and education that represents diverse histories and needs of the children in our town? And could you perhaps touch on Moms for Liberty and their position that they've brought forth to the school board meetings, and perhaps in broader terms, the balance of parental rights and the role of the school board in determining these things? And Ms. Zaki, you
Yes.
are up first.
Thank you. So I am actually very proud of an individual in our district who brought about that parental consent for certain books in the library must be signed by the parent. Some of these books, if you're not aware, that have gone in the library are unimaginable that they would be in children's hands. Some of these books, they need to be 18 years or older to get these books in other places. It is insane to me that a lot of these books would have the content in it that would get into our child's hands. Their brains are developing, and we, need to kind of monitor that from a parent's perspective. When we were young, we weren't allowed to go and buy certain magazines underage in stores. And there was a reason for that. Rated R movies, there's a reason for that. It shouldn't be in our school libraries, in their hands, unsupervised.
Mr. Oliverio?
Yeah, there's a tenet I've lived by all my life, and it really guides me in decisions like this, and that is no person, especially children, should ever feel diminished or lessened. They should be who they are. And the other tenet I live by is that no parent should ever parent somebody else's child. So when a parent says, take those books out of the library, who are they to demand that of a parent who would like those books available for their children? This is a parental option. And the school did a magnificent job in finding a middle ground, and that is those parents who don't want their children exposed to the books, they contact the school, they're on a list. If their child takes that book out, they are notified immediately, or the library can tell the child right out, I'm sorry, I can't let you see this book. That's that parent's right. But to deny another parent's right to take that book out for their own kid as a point of discussion, now you're being a dictator. No parent should parent somebody else's child. And every child needs to be and feel worthy and at peace with who they are. Thank you.
Ms. Yetter?
I also believe that we should not sanction books. I believe that it needs to be a partnership between, say, in the school, the librarian, and the parent and the child. If the parent thinks that a book is unworthy, have that discussion with the librarian, have the discussion with the children, make sure they are aware of why that decision is being made. I do like what we imposed as a board for the library, where if a parent would like to opt into stating that their child cannot check out a book without their permission, they're able to do that. Although we have, fortunately, have not had that many parents, if any, decide to do that, to move forward there. What I believe that every child needs to see themselves in books, and sanctioning it would not allow that for some. Whether I disagree or there's many books I don't disagree with. I don't agree with Oprah Winfrey's reading list. So. But I'm not going to put down that book or stop that book because of my own personal feelings. It has to be one that is has a lot of more than Jeanette Yetter's feelings. It has to be a lot of conversation to get to that point. So thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Wren?
Yes, I agree with Ms. Yetter, but I want to say that I believe it's within reason. I have seen a couple of pages from some books that, in my opinion, a minor should not see. So I think that's where the controversy lies. Any kind of diversity, of course, is welcome. I think if it's not age appropriate, it should not be there. But I do feel from what I've heard, from what the board decided, is that parental right, their choice to have their child read a book or not read a book, I think that's a wonderful compromise. I don't think we have the right to ban books unless, in my opinion, it is not age appropriate. And it's not good for a minor to view. But the board did a wonderful job. I think they found the best compromise to suit everybody's needs. And a parent, once again, and as I had mentioned, needs to actually sign if they do not want their child to take out a book. And I think that was the best thing that they could do. Thank you.
Thank you all. I'm going to follow up slightly on that last question. Mr. Oliverio, you will go first in this round. The question is this. Do you believe that children should get explicit sex education in school? And if so, what grades? How do you approach the issue of sex education? Mr. Oliverio.
You know, that, again, Putnam Valley School District is not solitary in what they do. They're mandated many times by the New York State Department of Education. My own personal belief, and it may be old school, is that I've always believed the 7th grade was an appropriate time to start to introduce the changes that occur in young people's bodies and explain what's going on with them. And the school does that. I believe they do that 6th or 7th grade. I would continue that. Sex education in kindergarten, 1st grade, to me that I don't support that. You got to get the children when they start to experience these changes. And it's also mandated by the state of New York, so that's a difficult fight to have. Again, personally, I think when children start to experience those hormonal changes and things, that's when they really need to find out what's going on with themselves so they're comfortable within their bodies and within society. So I would say 6th, 7th grade.
Ms. Yetter?
You used the word explicit, and I think that's what we just need to clarify, because we're not going to the children and saying very detailed things about sex education. We're giving them the broad overview that probably many of us already had ourselves in middle school. It's just probably more graphics that are involved that weren't available when we were in school. So as Stam stated, it is state curriculum that we must follow. Middle school is the appropriate time. There's a lot of changes that are occurring in middle school. And with this, parents are also informed what's going to go on. They're informed what the discussion is going to be, and they are informed. They're asked to talk to their children also before it and after it in order to get well-rounded parenting with the community. And so, again, that's just something that we need to make sure is that it's just very clear, a lot of communication back and forth from the school to the parent, and parents can also opt out if they have that opportunity. So again, I would just want to remove the word explicit from that, and where I feel that sexual education discussions are appropriate in the appropriate grades and the lighter topics.
Okay. Ms. Reynolds?
Yes, agreed. I think that would take place in middle school. Anything younger than that is just not appropriate. I think the number one, parent should still be the number one person in a child's life. They should be instilling values. I don't think schools have that right to start telling a child how behavior is going to be in a sexual nature. That is the parent's right. And as my colleagues had said, in middle school, once feelings start to arise in children and they can understand it a little bit better, that would be the time to learn the health, the academic portion of it. And as long as the parents are notified and they have an option to opt out if they feel they don't want their children involved, I think that's the best way to do it.
Ms. Zaki?
So I definitely do not support it in the elementary school at all. I think it's something that needs to start at home between parents and children. There may be children in 7th, 8th, and high school that are not able to handle something like this, so I'm very thankful that there's going to be a parent's choice and the ability to opt out, because no one knows the children like their parents. I just, I hope the nurses are involved in this discussion. I have further questions, like what is going to be taught? I think transparency is a very, very important factor when it comes to this topic, and communication with the parents and the community. That's how I feel.
Thank you all. We're going to switch gears for a moment. Each of you brings something of yourself to this position, whether it's as a parent or as a former educator yourself. The questions that is being presented is, how do you think you can represent the entire community equally, given that you are a parent of a particular type of student, or as a former educator? Do you see any conflicts, any potential conflicts in your tenure as a board trustee? And we will start with Ms. Yetter.
As a sitting board member, I hope I have already proved to you guys that I bring to the table. I'm a parent of 2 children that went through the district. I'm a community member. I'm a taxpayer. I have that interest in the community, as many of you do, as all of you do also. I am not a teacher. I am not an educator. I'm surrounded by education in my family, and I know what they go through, or what challenges that they face, as well as the pleasures they receive out of education. Though with that, I bring a voice that is, I feel we have enough educators already within the district who are getting paid to do their job. So I don't feel that the board needs to be filled with educators. I do feel that we do need a wide variety of attendees on the board, just to have a well representation of our community, whether that be a parent, whether that be political, whether that be just myself, that's just a business person. A lot of education I could bring from a business point of view to the Board of Education. One, I'm very pleased whenever I keep hearing, I'm glad the board did this year or these past few years, because I've been proud to be a member of this Board of Education. It's been very challenging, but I feel I have always had an open door and been very receptive to information. So.
Hey, Ms. Reynolds?
Yep. So I can bring to this board being a mom, right? I want to bring fresh eyes, and as Ms. Yetter said, I'm not a teacher either, and I feel having a different perspective will allow me to bring a different way of thinking. What you want is a collaborative ideas brought to the table. I want to hear from educators, I want to hear from my colleagues, I want to hear from the residents. And just because I have people can take it as pros and cons. Having a child in the district means I'm only going to focus on, okay, she's joining 4th grade. No, I think that just helps me understand the process better. And speaking to moms that have older children in the district has allowed me to see how wonderful of a district we have. I mean, I went to In the Heights on Friday night, and our kids are amazing. They are so talented, and I think I can bring to the table just a different way of thinking. And the best thing we can do is listen to all sides and communicate with one another and just have the best decision made for these children possible.
Thank you. Ms. Zaki?
I think I can bring to the board, well, I'm a mom and of many kids, and I'm very open, extremely honest. I believe in complete transparency. I do not believe in any hidden agendas. I like things to be open. My door is always open at my house. People wander in and out. It's like Grand Central Station. That's the joke. And I love people. Most of all, I have lived many places in my life, and Putnam Valley became my family. Many people in Putnam Valley, I recently had a very bad tragedy, and I feel like it's my turn to give back to a community that held me up. And I can bring a lot of things to this community with ideas.
Mr. Oliverio?
Thank you. I've been an educator, a teacher, guidance counselor, administrator. I have a good view of the educational process, an excellent view. But I've also been a public servant all my life. From the time I joined the military at the age of 21 to going into teaching because I wanted to serve the community I grew up in. And I'm going to continue that. You know, some people said, Sam, how can you be on a board if you don't have any kids? Well, I think that's to me, from a personal perspective, a bit of a plus, because I can view the entire spectrum of our residents as I have when I was county legislator, councilperson, and supervisor in an unobstructed way. I have no agenda here. I'm here to serve the public. And I have always been tied to education, and I love it dearly. And I want to use the skills that I've gathered over the years, administrative and managerial, to bring them to the board, to enhance the community and the kids that I just adore in this community. And I want to help them. So I am who I am, and most of you know me. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to turn our attention to assessment. Assessment of both our students and our faculty. What are the concerns or problems that you see with relying on, if any, I should say, with relying on our 3rd through 8th grade standardized test scores as an accurate and sole assessment of our students' performance? And what is your position on teacher assessment, for instance, the APPR? And we'll start with Ms. Reynolds.
So there's been a lot of talk about the ELA and the math state test. Last year, about 4 out of 10 students actually participated. They had the option to opt out. So it's a really hard indicator, especially last year. If I look at the numbers, actually, if you don't mind me looking, out of the percentages that were not tested in grades 5, 6, 7, and 8, we're talking 63, 44, 51, and 50%. So when you're talking about half the children that were tested, I don't feel that's a very big gauge of what they've done. A lot of kids are not good test takers either. This is the standard that we have. To look into something different, I mean, there would have to be a whole other, a much larger discussion about that. But overall, from last year's stats, proficiency was about anywhere from 52 to 90%, and proficiency meaning, when these tests are graded, they're into levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3 and 4 is considered proficient. Again, there was no test back in 2020, and in 2019 and 2018, it was about the same, 50%. And statewide, we're looking at 45% proficiency. So, again, I think more could be done, but this is where it is. And I got to give these kids a break last year because we just came out of 2 years of COVID, and there was a lot of emotional and academic learning that was hard for them to go through. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Zaki.
So I really thank God that there's the opt-out, situation that parents can opt their children out. I don't feel that this testing is fair to the children or the teachers. I think there's a lot of dictatorship within these tests and within the education system. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that, if you have a test and a state-run test, and you have all of your high honor roll students take that test and they score extremely high, well, what happens to the children that didn't take the test? And I think there's some room for children to be left behind, and no child should be left behind.
Mr. Oliverio.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the testing, and I got to tell you, it was a political creation. We got a lot of money, close to, over $1 billion from the federal government to implement the Bush-era testing program, which came out of Texas, believe it or not, because Texas is the state that produces most of these tests. And I think it is very harmful, and it grieves a lot of children. I am not big on testing. I've always believed in a portfolio measurement of our kids' success from year to year, following them, watching what they put together, the creative aspect of it, the educational aspect of it. Testing periodic for perhaps aptitude might be something that I would wish the state would consider. But let's face it, they over-tested our kids just a few years ago. And then the politicians got together and said, oh, we made an error. Let's reduce that. And they have. And thank God for the opt-out. I agree with everybody who's mentioned that. I am not a big fan of testing. As far as teachers go, the best way to evaluate a teacher, go in the classroom, see what they're doing, and then speak to the kids afterwards. They will give you more insight into how a teacher is teaching than anybody else in the universe. That's what I did as an administrator, and that, I hope, is what most administrators are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Yetter.
So as Mrs. Reynolds said, 4 out of 10 students in the past 3 years ago took the test, and that's what we're basing our scores on right now. The last 2 years, the previous 2 years, the tests were not held due to the pandemic. So right now we're doing the testing again. I think that the testing shows, we teach the curriculum, we have set curriculum that we need to follow, and that shows a point how the teachers are doing and how the kids are doing understanding the curriculum. So not that and the testing is also, it's one point of time, and it is also not held, the kids are not graded on that testing, the teachers are not graded on that testing. It's just a point of time to see how the kids are doing within the curriculum. For opting out, as Miranda had noted, with the volume of kids that opt out, it's hard to get a clear picture of how our test results are. So for example, 7th and 8th grade, we know that over in our county that we have also 7th and 8th grade always has historically had a decrease in the rate. So we need to work to see how we need to do to improve that for the 7th and 8th grader. There's always an opportunity. We need to have the reading, writing, arithmetic. We need to be able to show what those kids are doing. And I totally agree with Sam when he said, have a portfolio. Testing is one piece of data. We need to have a large portfolio of our kids to show how are they doing as a well-rounded student. So.
Thank you all very much. The next question is in regards to preparing our students for the future. And I'd like to ask you what you think the Putnam Valley schools could be doing better to prepare kids for future needs. And specifically, I'd like to ask you about your approach to students who may not be heading for college. And we're going to start with Ms. Zaki.
So, not every child is college material. And who knows these children better than our teachers as far as their education goes, aside from parents? We need to strengthen those children that are not college material as far as what their desires and who they are. And I believe that we can do that by, more technical services being offered, which I know tomorrow BOCES is coming to the Board of Ed meeting, and I'm very excited to hear what they have to say, because there are a lot of programs that we have not utilized over the years that could get those children involved that may not be necessarily aimed for college. In today's world, I know a lot of people that went to college that I think we're forcing college too much on some of these children that never went to college but went to technical, and they're doing pretty well in life. So it depends on the child and the parent and the communication that they have on where that child is headed.
Mr. Oliverio?
When I was an administrator, the biggest argument I used to get into with the superintendent, the then superintendent, not Dr. Luff, was my position on kids who did not want to go to college, because we were changing our schedule at the time, and I said it's going to affect those kids who want to go to tech center, who want to learn a real trade. We need to provide for them. They want to work, maybe car repair, cosmetology, a myriad of different skills that are taught at the tech center through BOCES. And sometimes those discussions during our administrative circle meetings would get very, very heated. And a couple of times I was asked to leave the room because I vehemently believe that those kids who are not college bound need much more attention and much more opportunity to go into the field that they are drawn to: carpentry, metalworking, heating and air conditioning. Great skills that will get these kids a lot of money. Have you called a plumber lately or an electrician to your house? I got to tell you, this stress on college is good for the college bound. But for the other kids, we need to start supporting them much more. I agree with you, Miranda, on what you said. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Yetter?
So I had an opportunity, this is one of the benefits of as being a board member, is sitting in on a BOCES presentation when I first came on the board. And the opportunities that those kids have at the tech center at BOCES is outstanding. I'm glad to hear that they're having the presentation tomorrow, because I think it's important for the community here and parents to hear what's offered, because it's not just your old BOCES, it's so many other things. Right. So along with that, I think that our guidance department has an opportunity to work stronger with the kids that may not be going straight to college, and to guide them maybe in a path, or to see what their interests are and how they can help them out. I think along with that, I'm a proponent for the military. If any of their kids, I know we have a lot of kids that have joined the military. I think that's a great opportunity, and I would like to see some of those options available, or to the discussions if possible. I also think that we have an opportunity to work with our kids to see what their interests are, and not push college if they don't seem to go that way. I can tell you at my age right now, although I finished college many, many years ago, I'm right now getting my MBA, and I'm about to finish that. So I think education can be at any age. I don't think that it needs to be right out of college. It could be gap years. It could be other opportunities.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yeah, I agree. I went to college, and I almost wish I did it a couple years later, right? I think there's a great pathway for college-bound students already in place in Putnam Valley. They have the AP program available and the IB program available. That's incredible. Not many districts have an IB program, and it opens doors to so many different areas that children can go in. But yeah, I think trades are a lost art. I think a lot of students that are not college-bound should have an opportunity to explore the other options available to them. And as Sam said, yeah, try to get an electrician, right? I mean, it's tough, and it is a lost art. And I think there should be a real discussion and a real conversation about definitely having more involvement in that in our schools. And it's great to hear that BOCES will be here tomorrow to start that process.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to follow up on that topic for a moment, since you're talking about curriculum outside of the mandates, really. We are all familiar with the heavy-duty mandates that are placed on educational systems by the state, as you referenced earlier. In your opinion, is the Putnam Valley School District doing enough to offer electives and other outside interest opportunities such as athletics? And what do you see as their role in a well-rounded education? Mr. Oliverio, you...
Yeah, having been involved in school for 35 years that I was, I got to say hats off to the district for providing a lot of different and varied activities for our kids, from theater to athletics to newspaper club to political organization, the Go Green Club, on and on and on. We offer a lot of diverse and different type of opportunities for our children, and I applaud that 100%. As far as curriculum goes, you're always held back by money. Unfortunately, that's what is always the bottom line. How much money do you have to spend on those things that are not mandated? And I am a real critic of the mandates that tend to come out of Albany. I think a lot of them are ludicrous and just made up so that the tower sitters, the people up there thinking, what can we impose next on our kids? They get paid to do that, and it's ridiculous. But the curriculum, I think, for what the district has been able to do, has been terrific in providing a lot of arts, a lot of other varied things for our kids. And I applaud the district for that. I think they've done a great job.
Ms. Shetter.
I also agree that the schools have done a great job bringing extracurricular activities to our students. As I mentioned, there's so many various clubs that are offered in the middle and high school and some in the elementary school. There's science research. There's, for the IB program, there's a CAS presentation where they talk about the community service. There's a wealth of information. In fact, it wonders if, for all of those, if there was any activities, it's amazing how many activities our kids are able to participate in. And if there were any ways I was going to look at the budget, it may be to, if we got to that point, it may be to scale back on a few of those because there is such a wealth of opportunities. But we want to make sure, for example, the arts kids have arts, the sports kids have sports, that they're able to participate in the activities that interest them and that will help them grow within the school career.
Thank you. Ms. Reynolds.
Sure. So yes, I feel this district does a very good job in bringing clubs and elective courses available. You can walk through the high school right here and see the beautiful artwork on the walls. I can speak from experience. So yesterday, my daughter and about 100 girls participated in what was called the Girls' Day in Sports. And what was amazing is what they did, they had girls from high school teach the elementary school children 8 different sporting events. And what was astonishing was not only were they teaching the techniques, but they were teaching them how to be part of a team, cheering each other on. So it's incredible. That was just one part of it, but their sporting programs are amazing, and their arts program, and again, I'll bring up, I saw in the Heights on Friday night, what these children did up there. It was like seeing, I'm going to go to these from now on instead of going to Broadway. It's cheaper and it's fantastic. So yes, I think they do a really nice job to get an overall well-rounded student here.
Ms. Zaki?
Amazing job. The teachers, I watch my daughter in drama. I can't even tell you. It touches my heart so much. You know, these extracurricular activities are extremely important for our children, for their well-being and their health. I watch my daughter in softball. Her softball coach, you couldn't have a better human being teaching my daughter softball, and all those kids out in the field. I think they do a phenomenal job.
Thank you all very much. The next question is about your previous involvement in the schools and the community, folks. In 2015, when Sam Oliverio was running for town supervisor, he sponsored a website in which he listed in great detail all the various things he was for and against. In 2021, Ralph Smith did something similar. A number of audience members would like to know about your previous commitments, any work that you may have done for the community, for the school district, and in particular, they'd like to know that you have voted in the school board in the community in the past, and have you done so consistently? So it's a two-pronged question. What will you do to make your views and your past known to audience members? And if you'd like to address any of that now, you may do so. And we will start with Ms. Yetter.
Okay. So, yes, I am a voter. I vote every year, except I want to say the one year that we had the nor'easter come through and the power outages, I'm not on that voting log, so unfortunately. But I do believe in the power of voting. I always took my kids to vote. My kids still vote, and I think that as a community, we really need to strengthen that, our volume of voters that we have come out for the school district votes. Along with that, and I'm trying to think what else. Oh, our activities, PTA. PTA, I think I've held every position in the PTA except for treasurer. Many meet the candidates nights when I'm the timer, so I really respect your work there. I know that's a hard position. I have participated in the high school building steering committee, various interview committees, and for the past 3 years, I've been on the Board of Education. My son was involved in Boy Scouts, his activities, I was working with those. I've been involved with Community Cares. It's a local organization out of Mayapack, but it provides services for families who have parents that are going through medical treatments. I was on the board of that organization for many years. I stopped when I became a board member here. Very worthwhile organization. And just anything that I can be involved in, I'm involved in. My friends try to tell you that I don't say no, so that's one of my problems here. So, thank you.
So I'll be completely honest, I have voted some years and not voted some years. As I was commuting to work in the city and getting up at 4:30 in the morning and getting home at 7 o'clock at night, I just wanted to get home. And to be honest with you, this is how I want to now become involved. How going to budget meetings and going to Board of Ed meetings, I have learned that I'm not alone in this. So many people in this community are not voting. Last year, 9% of registered voters came out and voted, and only 15% of all parents with school-age children voted. And I think many parents, including my husband, just assumes everyone else is going to do that. So to me, this is one of the biggest things I want to accomplish if I am privileged to be on this board, is to increase voter turnout. If you guys can't tell the school what you want and be heard, then they're not going to know how to answer it. So, thank you.
Ms. Zaki.
So, yes, I do actively vote. I am inconsistent for reasons over the last, couple of years, mainly work-related. I didn't stop with 3 jobs. In the past, in the community, I had a Girl Scout troop during my daughter's time in the elementary school, and I switched them over to like a little spicy meatballs club, and they, live at my house whenever they want to live at my house. People come and go, and actively, I'm here for anybody pretty much almost any time of my life. If you call me, I'm available, if I'm not at work. That's who I am.
Mr. Oliverio.
Yeah, I agree with you, Carolyn. There is nothing more important than the vote. And the numbers have been really abysmal for the budget vote. And I'm hoping this year, you got a great spectrum of people up here. We're all different. We're all presenting different points of views. And some mesh, some do not. But this is the time to get out and vote, not only on the budget, but your choice for school board trustee. For myself, look, I've always believed in public service since I was a kid. Council, here at school. But the most prideful thing that I've ever done, and it comes back to me when I go to the mall, or when I'm downtown at the post office, or I'm just at the firehouse, or when I was at town hall, is having my former students come by and just saying hello and talking to me and remembering those times where maybe I had a slight impact on their lives. To me, there's nothing more rewarding than that. And I want to continue that legacy, as I said right at the very beginning of this discussion tonight. I really believe in the importance of this institution and what it means to our residents and especially our children.
Thank you all. We touched on this topic a little while ago, but we're going to approach it in a different manner right now. We spoke earlier about parental rights and opt-out and so forth. The truth is we live in a very complex world, and part of the mission of a school system is to teach critical thinking about many of the issues that confront us today. So the question is this: how do you feel the Putnam Valley School District does in balancing the need to teach critical thinking skills without indoctrinating? And do you feel comfortable in the way that the school district has been approaching such issues, or do you feel that the schools have at times taken sides in presenting these issues to students? So if you would discuss that, that's where we'll go, and we're going to start with Ms. Reynolds.
So I do think they've done a pretty decent job at this. Again, you have to look at the curriculum that's coming from the state, right? It's all coming from there, and then it's our job to implement it. So as a district, you have the director of curriculum, you have teachers, you have the board, and they're looking at the best possible way to present and educate these kids in a classroom. And if you look at the curriculum, and I don't think I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about elective courses, if you go on the school's website and you go under high school, on the very right-hand side, and I think it's like 22-23 course materials, you can see all the courses available. And there are many critical thinking courses, and there are such a wide range variety. And it is so important for our children to critically think and have an opinion and learn in every subject matter possible to them. And I think critical thinking is incredibly important, and I do think we do a good job in that.
Thank you. Ms. Zaki?
So, critically thinking is pretty much my life in a matter of seconds. I do want to see our kids being educated and critically thinking. I think, I personally think it's something that should not be micromanaged so much. Our teachers have an amazing ability to teach. I don't think we need to dictate to them on how they're going to teach that critical thinking. I think bringing it back to the teachers and letting them find ways outside the box to teach that critical thinking, I think would be the best option for our children to learn critical thinking. And that's my stance.
Mr. Oliverio?
To use your, intuitive powers and observe a topic or a lesson critically, analyzing it through discussion with a neighbor in the classroom or in a group discussion, and really getting down to the brass tacks is an absolutely important aspect of education. So I am a big fan of critical thinking in all areas. Having observed all of the middle school staff at one time or another, and the high school staff as administrator, I never found a teacher trying to indoctrinate anybody at any time. Critical thinking is taking different perspectives from this side, and looking at the total picture and leaving it up to the student to make her or his own decision. And that's what our teachers do, and they do a great job with it. I'm very impressed, and I hope they continue that path of critical thinking because it is so key to a well-formed individual within our society.
Ms. Shetter?
I agree with these individuals. I do believe that our students are here to learn, our teachers are here to teach, and critical thinking is a great program, a great process for them to pull through the ideas that our students have. Things have changed over the last 10 years with a lot of the curriculum, and we just need to make sure that we are up in, we're not so much in books anymore. We have to open up the pages and hear from the kids and learn from the experience. And critical thinking allows us to do that, allows the students and the teachers and the staff to do that. So whenever we could pull that through education, I think it is vital.
All right. Once again, a little earlier, we discussed the role of parents in their child's education. This next question is specific to that issue. What are your feelings about parental rights? What role should parents have in their children's education? Do you perceive a gap between students and parents and the Board of Education? If you do, could you give a specific example? And the third thing I'm going to tack onto this is there's a question about would you support the language and structure of the recent parental rights in education bill that they passed in Florida? So that's a lot to put into one question, but I think you can handle it. We will start with Ms. Zaki.
So, obviously parental rights are a big decision, and these are our children. We have the right to take control of our children's education. Do I agree with the parental rights that just happened in Florida? Absolutely. 100%. I think there needs to be communication and transparency in the school district in order for the parents to, take their children's education back and hold their children. I think the dictatorship of things that happen with our children in school, I think we as parents need to take our children back. It is time. This is the year.
Please hold your applause till the end. Are you finished, Ms. Zaki?
Yes.
Mr. Oliverio.
Yeah. Public school is for the public. That's all our kids, all our children. And I agree, the parent has to be the ultimate voice in how that child is educated. For my tenure at the middle school and the high school, I was in charge of homeschooling. We have a cadre of approximately 40 families within Putnam Valley that homeschool their children because they feel that what the public school offers is not what they prefer. God bless them. Those kids do well. Many of them have gone on to college. The parents were very cooperative. I still keep in touch with many of those families. That is their right. The parent has the ultimate right under the eyes of New York, and from my personal perspective, to decide what their education should look like. But public school is for the public, all the kids. And what those parents felt might have been flawed in the public school, they have no right to dictate to those other parents what those changes should be. As I said earlier, no parent has the right to parent another parent's child, and I stand by that. I am not in favor of what they did down in Florida. That should have been moderated and compromised, and they lost an opportunity to do something really positive, I think.
Ms. Yetter.
I feel very strongly about parental rights. I think we as parents, we need to follow through and work with our school districts. The strongest school districts, the strongest relationships with the students are ones where the school partners with the parents and vice versa.
Right.
We need to bring that. I think that's something that over the last couple of years with COVID has gone out of place, and we need to bring that back to the school. I love how our PTA has been reflourished, how they're stepping up to do activities. I think that's very strong. I think it's a village. It takes a village along with our parental rights to raise our children. And the school and the parents and our community need to work together on that. The stronger the relationship shows, the stronger the school community is. And I think that is so utmost important.
Ms. Reynolds.
So, yes, I do agree with the Florida bill. I have to say, my understanding of it is that it provides more parent notification and gives more involvement in critical decisions that are affecting students' mental, emotional, or physical well-being. In my opinion, as a parent, I don't know who would not support that, but that's just me. I think the question also was if we as a district are doing a good job, and I do. I think there's a lot of transparency. I think there's a lot of resources out there parents can ask. Anytime I have ever made a phone call or sent an email to a teacher or anyone in administration, their response was amazing. They gave me as much time as I needed to answer my question. They were able to provide me with resources. And I do. I think there's a lot of transparency, and I think and again, the role of a parent is so, so important. And a teacher is there to teach your children, but ultimately it's the parent who needs to be number one in their life. And if you can have that relationship between the parent and a school district, they're just going to flourish.
I'm going to follow up on this topic for a moment, because as we see, there are any numbers of issues where there are divergent opinions. And one of the things that we've seen over the last few years has been how outside organizations have begun to take on education as a target or a topic. So the question is this: how will you prevent outside organizations, whether they be political or perhaps religious in nature, from politicizing our schools? How will you, what is your commitment to ensuring the separation of church and state in our schools, and the schools being used for political opportunism? And Mr. Oliverio, we're back to you, sir.
Yeah. Everybody has a right to speak out and express their opinion. That's the bastion and the foundation of this great country, the ability to believe what you believe. And nobody should be silenced over that. And I applaud our Board of Education for allowing that discussion to occur. I've been there. I've been at a couple of meetings here where there were real differences of opinion, but they were allowed to speak. And that's really important. Now, how do you prevent a political organization from taking over the school? There are so many safeguards to that, or religious organization. There are laws on the books, and the state is, very powerful when it comes to trying to usurp the power away from, the educational system. That being said, no one should ever feel intimidated or uncomfortable raising an issue that they feel strongly about. And if I sit on this board, everybody will have that opportunity to speak their mind. That's the most important way to deal with any type of controversial issue, through discussion and through allowing the individual to speak their mind.
Ms. Yetter.
So while sitting on this board for the last 3 years, as I had mentioned that, the role description was not a pandemic. It was also, I didn't think, to a lot of the different opinions that we've heard over the last few years. And I have to say, as a board member, it's been hard. It's been challenging to sit here and to hear the diverseness within our community. But I also feel that everyone has a right to speak up. And I have to say, I'm very proud of the ones that did speak up, because they came here, they showed their passion, and I do appreciate that. I think everyone has we have a very diverse population, and everyone has the right to make their feelings known. Along with that, though, one thing about the Board of Trustee position is there's no political affiliation that should be,
Right.
No one should know what my political affiliation is in my thoughts or how I'm speaking, because we're here for the children, we're here for the community. We're not elected on whether we're Republican or Democrat. We are here to serve all. And so along with that, I am proud of how we have allowed the public sessions over the last month, or last few years. I do think that there probably could have been opportunities to improve it, but at the same time, I am glad that we gave everyone a voice to speak and to be heard.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so opinions are important. That's how we have a voice here, right? And sadly, in this country, it's getting heated in some places, and we've been fortunate enough where I don't think it's gotten that bad here yet, and that's, again, why the communication here is so important. And it's not just speaking, it's listening to other people's voices, whether you agree with them or not, hearing what they have to say. It may make you look at things through a different lens. Having a debate, having a discussion, and have an honest discussion about it, and having trust and transparency with one another and with the community. And again, it all goes back to community involvement. If the board doesn't know what you want to say, they can't help in implementing your voice.
Thank you. And Ms. Zaki?
So my stance on this is there's no room for politics in our children's school. Absolutely no room for it. It creates too much animosity among children, each other. It creates too much animosity among parents. And what we need to start looking at is the similarities among us all. We need to fall in love with that, and then we can love our differences. I think it's a simple concept, and to keep it just out of the schools. As everyone knows, I was very upset with the middle school yearbook last year. That's something that I'm never going to get over. And, there's too much politics in our children's lives. They are children. Their innocence is going away because we're taking that away by instilling politics in their life. I remember a few years ago, all my Girl Scouts every Friday got off the bus. They got off the bus crying. I'm like, what is going on? Imagine having a bunch of second graders off your bus crying, 10 girls. Well, so-and-so was giving out candy today for people who voted for Hillary. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on, you're kids. There's no room for it.
All right, very good. As we begin to wrap up, folks, we're going to ask maybe one or two more questions before we go to closing statements this evening. We will not get to every specific question that was submitted this evening. I apologize for that. So I'm going to try to combine a couple of very specific questions. We have a question here about talk of Mandarin being dropped from the curriculum in favor of Spanish. I don't understand quite. The question is, has there been any thought been put into the large Spanish-speaking population and the possibility of them being left out? I'm not quite sure. But if that is correct, that Mandarin is being dropped from the curriculum, what are your thoughts on that? At the same time, there's a question about the Board of Ed requiring those going to the prom to use buses, and that the cost of the transportation is being charged to parents. And the question is, should the Board of Ed be requiring payment for what the Board of Ed requires from the students? So I realize they're two separate issues, but I bring them up at the same time, and you can choose whether to answer to one or both of them, and we will start with Ms. Yetter.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the Mandarin question again? I got a little lost there.
There's the talk of Mandarin being dropped in favor of Spanish. I don't know anything about that, but somebody submitted the question, so I'm giving it to you.
So as in our Putnam Valley Central School District, we do offer Spanish in both our middle and our high school, as well as we offer Mandarin for our lower grades. It gets pushed in for 30 minutes, K1 and 2. Next year will be 3 for 30 minutes a week. So it's through a collaboration with BOCES. Next year, we have approved a Mandarin teacher for our middle school, and that teacher will also work with the high school. So we will be bringing a Mandarin to our school district. Regarding prom buses, historically, expenses paid for things like the prom or any activities like that are paid from fundraising from different activities. So, for example, when my sons went to the prom, there's a lot of fundraising that occurred through the freshman year and to senior year in order to pay for these different activities, and that also included the buses. So I would ask you, as a taxpayer, how would you feel if your tax dollars were going to prom buses? So not all taxpayers before that. We need to provide use our budget monies for all children, any activities for all the children, and prom buses may not be a good use for our taxpayers' dollars on that. So any fundraising that we can do to assist with that would be benefit. I know I personally participate in all the fundraising I'm informed about in the high school as a board member, or as well as a community member. So that's why I have some issues with the Board of Ed paying for prom buses. Or the district, I should say, paying for prom buses.
Ms. Reynolds.
I like the idea of Mandarin. They're starting to explore that with the elementary school, and I was never exposed to a second or alternative language at that young of age. I think I started in 7th grade. When the students do get to the middle school, they have the option to take Spanish or French, but Mandarin's the most common spoken language in the world right now, and if students are looking to go towards a business path, I mean, that's going to be very beneficial for them. A lot of companies deal with China, and it would help in their it would look amazing on their resume. It would be not as competitive when they're going for a job. I think it would be great. They have that option, and it seems, from my understanding, enough are enrolled in it to keep it going. And if you don't want that, you can choose Spanish or French when you get up to the middle school and the high schools. In terms of busing, I think Ms. Yetter put it perfectly. There's only so much room in a budget for certain things. I think that would be, in my opinion, on the table for discussion, and then ultimately make a vote out of it.
Ms. Zaki?
So I am 100% choice. Children should have a choice to pick one language out of 6,500 languages out there. I don't think that honestly doesn't really truly make sense to me. I wanted to know why and where we got Mandarin from, and I was told that it was the student's choice. That is not the questionnaire that I got through my email. I would just like to see children have a choice. I've worked in New York City, I've worked in Brooklyn, I've worked all over, Chinatown, all the way up to Albany. And the one language, I think I've needed Mandarin maybe 3 times for an interpreter. To tell you the truth, maybe I could count a handful. The one language that I have needed on a regular basis was Spanish. To tell you the truth, we do have a very beautiful community. I see a lot of people that speak Albanian. I see a lot of people that speak Arabic, and I think it's something that could be choice, and it may not have to come down on the taxpayers or the education system. There may be another way.
Thank you. Mr. Oliverio?
Back in 2016, my last year in district, then Superintendent Mills sent out a flyer to the entire district and asked the district to participate in what language did they think was most valuable. Mandarin came up as the choice of the parents at that time. I think it would be a good idea, and I have to agree with you that choice is important. Maybe every 3 or 4 years you do another survey like that, but right now Mandarin has been accepted, and it's going very well. And I have to agree with what was said, that it is an important language. I mean, the Chinese are an economic force to be reckoned with, and we deal with them constantly. So to learn their language as well as ours, that's a no-brainer to me. And also, you do have the choices of French or Spanish. So I think we're doing the right thing, following Mandarin and providing the other languages. As far as the busing goes, we are on record as the safest school district for proms because we bus our kids there and back. The safest school district. Thank God, knock wood, no accidents, no deaths, and that's because of the busing. And I agree with Jeanette, we need to fundraise that. That should not be a burden on our taxpayers. It should be something that the kids want and focus and gather it through fundraising.
All right. Thank you all. Two questions left. This next question is in regards to what I believe is called your middle years program, MYP. Can you please tell us what MYP means to you? Is it valuable or not? And there's a tied-in question asking what has caused the middle school to go to Florida now to investigate MYP? And we are up to Ms. Reynolds to start.
I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not completely educated on this one. I will look into it more, but I'm not at this time ready to answer that one.
Ms. Zaki?
I need to do research on this because I also am not educated on MYP.
Mr. Oliverio?
What is that?
All right, I feel
I never heard of that, and I'm an
Can I
educator.
tell you?
What is that exactly? Do you know? Mark, can you tell us what that is?
I'm sorry, sir, I cannot.
All right, well, what's the other
So
question? then?
MYP is the middle school year, the
Middle years program,
middle
isn't it?
years program. It's similar to
Oh, why do we call it that,
IB.
middle years program?
It's similar
I
to
thought I said that at the
IB in
beginning.
the middle
Okay,
school.
sorry.
So, or the high school IB, but it's geared towards middle school students
Right.
and middle school faculty.
Okay.
And so, yes, currently, we do have some teachers that are up for training for this program. It is training that is being funded through the stimulus funds. It's not in a direct impact to our taxpayers' dollars. So, all the fundings from this program is being dealt with from our stimulus funds. And it's a way to introduce a different type of, not a different type, but enhance the education of our students. Again, our students are here to learn, our teachers are here to teach. We need to be able to really tweak what we do in order to make it the best students that we can, and to pull this thread again through to the high school. So that is what this program is.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
transparency.
Thank you, there we go, good. I like that, thank you, Jeanette.
All right. Our final question for the evening, ladies and gentlemen, regards ethics. Obviously, anytime a public institution is active, the ethics are an important question. The question is this: do you feel that the Putnam Valley School District does a good job of monitoring ethics and ethics violations among its board members, its faculty, its staff? Do you think that anything more needs to be done to protect the citizens of the town from ethics violations? And Ms. Zaki, Ms. Zaki, you are up.
So I think we do a pretty good job in our ethics section. I think there's room for improvement, like with everything else. I feel that sometimes we promote certain things that categorize our children too much. And I think categorizing them and making their differences so known is not bringing our children together to know each other, to love each other, and to fall in love with each other for similarities. I think if we did it the opposite way of the way we've been doing it, I think our children might do much better. Look at your similarities. You fall in love with your similarities of each other, and then your differences kind of come into play. I think ethics is a big topic.
Mr. Oliverio.
Very important ethics, and our district has followed that route very strictly and with great focus. I recall an administrator being let go immediately upon a major ethics violation quite a few years ago, and I supported that move. I thought it was the correct thing to do. Those things occur. We're human beings, and sometimes we make terrible mistakes, and when that happens, those individuals need to be brought up to measure, and those actions need to be countered. Our district does a very good job about that, and I support them in continuing to do the guidance that they do for our kids especially, also the parents and the community at large.
Thank you. Ms. Shetter?
So I think ethics is very important in a school, in a district. I think the board is very ethical. I support everyone that sits on that board for their ethics belief. Regarding ethics issues within the school, as a board member, I would not be allowed to speak with any, but I could tell you I haven't been addressed with any, or any haven't come up. So I do think that the district has a strong policy and procedure in place to address ethical issues, and that it's something that's very stringent and would be followed if the need arises.
Thank you. Ms. Reynolds?
Yeah, same here. I haven't heard of any major issue. Ethics is extremely important. It seems like the district has a nice oversight as to what would be done if there is an issue to arise. And again, if you look in the policies, it's all written there. But yeah, it's incredibly important, and I think they do a nice job for the oversight of it.
Well, I want to thank you all for answering our questions this evening. It is now time for our closing statements. And as we stated at the outset, we will hear our closing statements in the reverse order of our opening statements. So, Ms. Zaki, you have the floor.
So when I started coming to Board of Ed meetings, I wondered why attendance was kind of poor. Not many people came. I wondered why some people were angry, why people were happy. There was a lot I didn't know. I think by coming to the Board of Ed meetings, that's when I really learned a lot. I learned about something that I call philosophy. And the philosophy is that people are power, not money, people. The more people we have, the more power we have. And I learned that there's the Board of Ed, and then there's the parents and the children, and there's also the Board of Ed and the teachers. And I think there's a gap and missing things in the middle that someone needs to come up and fill in that gap and open that communication. Most of all, this is our children's Board of Ed. This is our children's school. And just as much as we have a right to voice what we want, our children do. And having children involved in speaking to me personally, it's so valuable in the Board of Ed. And we need to make room for open communication and complete 100% acceptance.
Thank you. Ms. Wynn.
So again, thank you for coming tonight. Again, I'm here and I'm running because I'm proud of this district, right? There's a lot of temperament in the country right now, and people are running for boards all over because they're upset. I'm proud to be here. I think this district is wonderful. I'm not here to make noise. I'm not a campaigner. I'm a mom. I feel like I have the best interests of our kids at heart. I think bringing fresh eyes as a parent will give me a perspective and a different way of thinking to the table. I would like to have a better dialogue and debating issues. I feel I'm centered. I'll listen to all sides. I will find a compromise that will hopefully suit everyone involved. And ultimately, our end game is to have our children have the best quality of education they possibly can and watch them grow into healthy and productive citizens. Again, I truly inspire to become and obtain more involvement from our parents, because our parents, if they can be involved with the teachers, I think we'll do great things with these kids. I want to create stronger ties with our residents, including those who do not have children. Let's improve voter turnout, guys. Get out there on the 17th and vote. Again, only 9% of registered voters came out last year. Let your voices be heard. I've learned so much just in the past month by going to meetings. I am so looking forward to learning more. In the little bit I've learned, I've realized how much the door is open and how much there is to educate myself. And if I do not get elected this time, I vow to continue educating myself, and I want to learn more policies, and I want to become involved anyway. That's the reason I'm doing this. So I'm privileged to get the opportunity to serve this district. My voice will always, every day, represent of your students. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to getting to know more of you in the future.
Thank you. Ms. Shannon.
So thank you to the League of Women Voters. Thank you to the PTA. Thank you for all of you coming out tonight. Really appreciate your time and effort to provide the questions and listen to us and hear what we have to say. I also want to thank everyone sitting up here with me, because it's hard to run. It's hard to be here in front of you. It's hard to put ourselves out there, but we know what's important. Our community's important, our children's, our students, our teachers, our faculty, the whole district's important to us, and so that's why we are here for you. I've really enjoyed my time over the last 3 years, believe it or not. It has been very challenging, but I've learned so much. Really, you think you walk in knowing it, some things you really don't know very much, and so it's been an opportunity to learn, and I thank you for my past opportunity to vote me in, to have the confidence in that. I am here for the community. I'm here for each of the parents. I am a taxpayer. I work full-time. I've worked full-time throughout my children's career as here, and it's been hard. You know, I do it because I have to pay taxes. My car's a 2008. It's not that I have I'm not a multi-millionaire sitting on this board. I am a taxpayer. I am one of you. I am part of the community. And I appreciate you coming out here. I always want to hear from you. I want to hear what you want to say. I ask for your vote on May 17th. Jeanette Yetter for Board of Trustee. There's 2 positions open. I please ask for one of those. And thank you again for your time, and have a great evening. And support the budget.
Yes.
So.
Mr. Oliverio.
Thank you. Again, thank you, PTA, PVFT, League of Women Voters, and especially you for being here. Most of you know me. I've been in the community a long time. I've done a lot of different things. I believe in public service more than anything else in my life. It's what I enjoy doing, and I would love to continue doing that here as a trustee member. My only reason for running is that I still want to contribute to the kids in this community as I have in the past. As I said before, the biggest joy I get is when former students come up to me and say, "Hey, Mr. O, you remember when so-and-so and so-and-so?" That is like the greatest medal of honor anybody could ever get, that you know you touched somebody's life. And I want to continue doing that. But I want to bring it to a higher level to include all of you, parents, grandparents, or seniors, those with and without children. I feel I've been a voice for everybody in this community over the years, and I'd like to continue that. I'm very fair-minded. I am outspoken. I don't deny that. That's why I was thrown out of a couple of administrative meetings in the past. But I'm proud of that too, because I advocate for all people. And if I see anything going wrong, that's when I speak the loudest. So I ask for your vote. There's 2 seats available. I think we're all very qualified for this position. Again, please vote. That's the most important thing, especially on the budget. 1.49, you're not going to find a better budget anywhere. Thank you. Have a great evening, and thank you all for being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for all of our candidates, please.
Thank you.
A couple of words of thanks before I let you all go for the evening. Thanks to our timekeepers, Ms. Phyllis Honig and Mr. Vijay Saraswat from the League of Women Voters. We'd like to thank the Putnam Valley PTA for hosting this night. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you to Eileen Riley, President of the Putnam County League of Women Voters. And just a reminder, a couple of pieces of information. First, the budget vote for the Putnam Valley Central School District and the election of Board of Ed candidates takes place on May 17th, 2022. The vote will be held in person at Putnam Valley Elementary School on Oscawana Lake Road, and will take place from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on that day. However, if there are any members of our audience here who will not be able to attend the vote on that day, there are absentee ballots in the back of this room. For those of you watching at home or online, the Putnam Valley School District's clerk is Ms. Maureen Bellino, that's B-E-L-L-I-N-O. She can be emailed at mbellino, M-B-E-L-L-I-N-O, at pvcsd.org, that's Putnam Valley Central School District.org, or you can reach her by phone at 845-528-8143, extension 1367. Let me repeat that, 845-528-8143, extension 1367. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending tonight, and please don't forget to vote. Have a good evening.